Hey everybody, I'm the Bat Otter, and before I start the video, I wanted to ask you guys something. What do you think of the new format of video that I'm doing? If you guys could just tell me that in the comments below, I'd appreciate it. Because in my head, I'm going from these handheld phone reviews where I occasionally turn a page in a book and I tell you guys what's going on in the book as if you don't have eyes. I feel like this new format is you see the pretty picture, you put your phone down, you get to whatever it is you're doing. Kind of like you would do with the radio. You're listening to the radio, you're doing stuff while you're listening, like a podcast, anything like that, but in short bites of 10 minutes instead of long form shows because I really don't want to do a long form show. Now, I can change this format. I could do a talking head, so instead of a pretty picture, you get my pretty face. Either way, I'm good. I just want to know what you guys think. So, let's get right into it. Now, before I start, two prefixes, right? If you haven't been keeping up with Jojolands, then and you're worried about spoilers, then don't watch the video. It'll be common knowledge in like 2 months. Everybody's gonna know what happened. But this pertains to the ending of the most recent chapter, which is a pretty significant reveal, according to most people with a brain. And this reveal is that the guy who they're gonna steal the diamond from in Hawaii, Joe Dio and the crew, is Rohan Kishibe. And not just a guy named Rohan Kishibe who looks nothing like the original Rohan and is just a nod to the original universe. No, headband and all, J-Pen earrings and all, Rohan Kishibe. Swimming in his pool, throwing his hair around like he's the best looking guy on the planet. Now, I found this really interesting. When I read it, I thought it was absolutely hilarious because it's the last thing anybody would expect, but also the first thing you'd expect from a Rocky if a Rocky was gonna pull something crazy out of his bag of tricks. Because we all know that Araki's favorite character is Rohan Kishibe. That's why he has all the one shots. That's why he has all of the influence. That's why he's such a crazy character even in the world of JoJo. Because it gives Araki an opportunity to exaggerate his own life and his own interests in a way that makes sense in the story and can also create a very interesting character. All of those things he can put into Rohan. So of course Rohan is Araki's favorite character, one of his favorite characters, if not his favorite. And then of course he has that interesting stand, Heaven's Door, that has so much malleability and so much range and so much ability in what he can and can't do. And playing into the chess matches that are JoJo fights, it's very fun, I would think, from the author's perspective, to write and draw scenes like that, where you have this overpowered guy, but in the world of JoJo, no power is without flaw. So, of course, he's going to introduce a character like that. Now, the setup to this is Joe Dio saying 4 guys would not have been enough. 20 guys wouldn't have been enough for what we had to face on this heist. And that's a pretty big setup because it makes you ask all these questions, right? What are they going to encounter? Who are they going to encounter? Now, the expected result was going to be Josuke, Yasuo, Jobin, Joshu, Norisuke. Any one of those guys was more expected than Rohan Kishibe, much less the original Rohan Kishibe in this new world. Now, the part that interests me, and the part where I think, okay, I didn't call this, but I did mention something like it in my initial video about the Jojolands. And if you go back and you watch one of those two videos, I don't remember which one it was in, I bring up the idea of a late style for an artist, more specifically musicians, but it can be applied to all angles of creativity. And the part that I found most interesting, and I think completely pertains to this situation, is the unpredictability of somebody's late style, where they go out on a limb and they do things that people wouldn't quite expect from them. They go against the grain a little bit more. Now, Araki, if you've studied his career for any amount of time, has always sort of gone against the grain, right? From his original stories where he's making antagonist protagonist, from the fact that I believe he had the first shonen female protagonist in Jolene, instead of doing just a copy paste Jotaro-san, as some people say he was suggested to do, and probably would have sold like hotcakes. But even JoJo, as a whole, as a series, goes against the grain and does not always conform to your typical standards in anime. That's a part of the reason why I like it, because it's so different. So the idea that this guy has gone against the grain for his entire career, well, that's already very relevant. That's already why I'm hooked. That's already why many people are already attached to the series because of the unpredictable nature. Now, put that in with the idea that an artist in their later years becomes unpredictable according to themselves by their own standards. Now you're cooking. Because imagine a Rocky being even more unpredictable, being even more interesting, and giving us even more to wonder about as we're reading these things as it goes along. I mean, that creates so much hype. The ability to be such a titan in the game for almost 40 years now, from 1988, and still be kicking in your 60s in what is literally a young man's profession and a young man's business due to the fact that many of the fans are young. I mean, that's incredible, right? So getting back to Rohan, who would have thought that it was going to be Rohan? When I mentioned that late style, I said it's unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen next. And we all expected it to be somebody, and then it was so far left field, nobody could have possibly seen it coming. Do you guys find that interesting? I find that quite interesting, personally, because Araki's wrote so much about Rohan, but it's all been implied that it's in the original universe. Now you have some people on Twitter. This is shaking people on Twitter. This is giving people trauma on Twitter. The emotional weight it's holding over them. You guys really should go check it out. It's fun to watch. It's almost as entertaining as reading the chapter itself. And in reading this, I'm reading it on the sidelines, but they're proposing some very interesting things and some things that might have flown under some people's radars. And that is in the one-shot chapter of the Poacher's Coast, where he's going with Tonio to poach those scallops. They're not scallops. Uh, there's a offhanded remark from Rohan, and that is that they are near Higashikata family-owned land. And if you paid any attention to part 4, you'd know, wait a minute, Josuke, his mother, they didn't really own land. Unless they got a lot of money from Joseph sometime in between part 4 and whenever that one shot took place, then there's really no reason why they had land unless Araki just put that in the story haphazardly for no reason. But then that's not a very Araki thing to do, to put something in the story for no. That's half of his game, is that anything he puts in the story you have to watch out for because it might come back and bite you in the butt later, right? You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm coming at from here? So what people are saying is that there was a silent transition from part 4 Rohan to part 8 part 9 Rohan for the sake of keeping Rohan the same character over an extended period of time without having to make any significant changes that would really affect him. So that way he can keep that one shot return to zero nature of his stories. Now, that is a very interesting point because if you read Hot Summer Martha, that takes place in 2021 due to the coronavirus pandemic. We know that. We also know that that would make Rohan 40 or 50. He doesn't look 40 or 50. Now, as Iraqi, does he have a track record of making characters? No. No, he doesn't. Joe Dio is 15. Does he look 15? Kind of, actually. But it's his colorful getup that makes him look younger. So there are some questions that are floating around there, and it is entertaining to watch people speculate about this topic. But I found it very interesting. And I think that's like the word of the day, right? Interesting. Uh, and I think that this is going to have a lot of waves around the landscape and the part of JoJo going forward. I mean, this is a very significant thing moving forward in the part. It changes so much. There's so much that is going to happen now that Rohan is a part of it that wouldn't have happened had it just been Josuke or an already established character within the universe. So, really, that's the entire video. There's not much else to say. I really am looking forward to where this thing goes. I'm searching for more video topics. I figured that Rohan was a very hot topic at the moment, so I figured I'd bring you guys a little bit of entertainment with this. Yes, so let me know in the comments below everything what you think. I'd love to see what you guys have to say about the topic. And once again, tell me, give me some instructions. Give me some things to work with. I wanna continue to put out videos. I've got nothing in the gas tank, y'all. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, check the links in the description, buy my story on Gumroad, no sign up required. It's a great story, 8 pages, 2 pages of artwork. Aside from that, I'll see you guys in the next one.